Being the coach's favorite sounds like a dream, more minutes, more touches, more trust, but behind the curtain, it's a nightmare stitched with quiet resentment. You don't choose to be the favorite. You just become it. Maybe you show up early. Maybe you study film religiously. Maybe you're the only one doing what the coach says without asking why. And then one day, your name gets called first in drills. You start getting the crunch time minutes. The coach balks at everyone else, but corrects you with a calm voice. And that's when the locker room changes. Guys start looking at you differently. Not because you did anything, but because now you represent something no one trusts. Authority. You're no longer just a teammater, the guy who's been anointed, the guy who doesn't need to fight for every inch. Because the battle has already been rigged. In a team sport, perception is currency. And when you're the favorite, your teammates don't see the blood, sweat, and late nights that got you there. They only see the result, the extra leash, the softer tone, the second chances they don't get. Every pass that comes your way feels like proof of bias. Every time you're subbed in while someone else stays cold on the bench, proof the system's broken. You become a symbol, not of success, but of favoritism. And the worst part? That target on your back, on your chest, in every drill and scrimmage, you can't remove it. You didn't ask for it, but now it follows you everywhere. And nobody's missing. The locker room is supposed to be sacred, a place where the outside world fades, where bonds are built on sweat, sacrifice, and shared silence after tough losses. But when you're the favorite, that room turns cold. The jokes don't land the same anymore. Conversations stop when you walk in. Group chats suddenly don't include you. You're on the team, but you're no longer with the team. To them, you're not a teammate. You're a mouthpiece, a messenger, a spy. No one says it out loud, but the vibe shifts fast. Teammates start pulling each other aside instead of speaking up in front of you. They think you'll relay everything back to the coach. Every honest gripe, every criticism, every mistake. It all gets filtered or buried because you're in the room. You become the guy people roll their eyes at when your back is turned. The guy who can't sit at the lunch table without the mood changing. The guy they cheer for ... but never with. And what makes it worse? You can feel it. You hear it in the silence. You see it in the glances. When a team no longer sees you as one of us, every interaction is performance. Every high five is forced. Every compliment has a layer of bitterness beneath it. It's the kind of loneliness that doesn't show up in the stats. It won't be in the highlight reel. But you carry it into every game, every practice. You're not just playing to win. You're playing to belong again. The brutal irony of being the coach's favorite. You don't get more room to fail. You get less. Every minute you're on the court, field, or diamond, you're playing under a microscope. Not just from fans or coaches, but from your own teammates. Because now, every mistake you make is you untake just a mistake. It is validation for everyone who thinks you didn't earn that spot. You miss one rotation on defense, they call it soft. You go 0-4-3 to start a game. See, this is what happens when he doesn't get benched. You get subbed in over someone else. Politics? Your teammates are waiting for you to trip. Not out of hate, out of pride. Because if you mess up, it justifies everything they've been feeling. It proves the playing field wasn't level. That your minutes were never about merit. Just favoritism dressed up as strategy. So now, you can't afford off nights. You can't afford a bad quarter. You can't even afford to look tired. Because the moment you slip, the whispers turn into arguments, the eye rolls turn into tension, and the coach, whether they admit it or not, feels that pressure too. They start pulling you quicker, coaching you harder. The leash tightens. And that mental weight, it doesn't go away after the buzzer sounds. You carry it into the locker room. You carry it into film sessions. You carry it home, wondering if this is the game that turns the whole room against you. Being the favorite doesn't mean you get to play free. It means every second you're auditioning. Not just for the coach, but for a team that's already hoping you fail. When the locker room splits, you're stuck in the middle of a quiet war. And every day, you're forced to choose a side. Even when you're not trying to. You walk into practice knowing that half the guys think you're a sellout. You walk into games hearing your own teammates mutter when you check in. And you can't win. If you defend the coach, you're kissing up. If you stay silent, you're complicit. Either way, you're isolated. This is where the game starts to feel different. Not on the surface. You're still playing, you're still executing the plan. But emotionally, you're playing alone. You stop celebrating your own wins because no one else is clapping. You stop speaking up in huddles because no one's listening. You stop enjoying the game because it feels like the game has turned on you. The sport you once loved starts to feel like a job. And the team? Just co-workers. That mental fatigue creeps in slowly. It's not burnout from playing too many minutes. It's burnout from not being believed, from constantly having to prove that you deserve to be where you are. That you're not the teacher's pet, that you're not some coach's puppet. That you're real, even off the court. You change. You start filtering what you say. You pull back in group settings. You doubt yourself after every play. Not because you don't know the game, but because you can't stop wondering what your teammates are thinking. You're not just playing the sport anymore. You're surviving the silence, dodging the stares, trying to hold yourself together while the team quietly pulls itself apart, and eventually, you stop playing to win. You start playing to be accepted, to be forgiven, for a favor you never asked for. The worst part about being the favorite isn't the pressure. It's what happens the second that favor runs out, because it always does. One game, one turnover, one blown coverage. And suddenly, the coach isn't looking at you the same way. The encouragement fades. The leash shortens. The benefit of the doubt gone. And now, the locker room pounces. The quiet resentment becomes loud. He finally got exposed. He's been protected all year. Now we see who he really is. You go from playing through mistakes to being the mistake. The coach distances themselves, whether they realize it or not. They start giving other guys chances. Start coaching you harder, more publicly, like they're proving to everyone else that you're not above the rules. And the team? They don't come to your defense. They've been waiting for this moment, not because they hate you, but because they hated what you represented. Favoritism creates distance. Distance creates silence, and silence turns into blame the moment your game dips even slightly. Now you're not just the coach's guy. You're the reason we lost. You're the excuse for everything that's gone wrong. It doesn't matter how good you were 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter that you showed up early, stayed late, did everything right. The second the coach's trust wavers, your teammates don't catch you. They let you fall. And when you hit the ground, you finally see what that favor was really worth. Here's the cruelest truth. Sometimes, you did earn it. You worked harder. You studied longer. You ran harder in drills, asked more questions, pushed yourself deeper than anyone else was willing to. You earned that favor, and still, you pay for it. Because in sports, the perception of privilege is often more powerful than the reality of effort. The moment you're seen as favored, everything else gets your grind becomes invisible. Your wins become suspicious. Your leadership becomes manipulation. Earned privilege sounds like a reward, but in the eyes of a divided team, it's a scarlet letter. It follows you everywhere, to every team, every camp, every locker room. Coaches talk, players talk more. And now, long before you say a word, you're that guy. You don't walk in with a clean slate. You walk in with a reputation, so you start shrinking yourself. You pass more often. You defer. You stay quiet in film. You downplay your own game, just to avoid setting off the alarms again. Not because you're humble, but because you're tired. Tired of being the example. Tired of being the bridge between the staff and the squad. Tired of walking the tightrope between respect and resentment. And still, you don't know how to play any other way. You can't stop caring. You can't unlearn the details. You can't flip the switch off just to fit in. Because if you start slacking, then maybe you are the fraud they think you are. But if you keep pushing, you're back on the island. Alone. That's the silent curse of being the coach's favorite. You get the keys, but no one wants to ride with you. You get the light and the heat that comes with it. And when it burns, there's no one left to pull you out. You asked for the responsibility, You never asked for the blame, but in this game, they come wrapped in the same jersey.